What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Brandon Space. It's the podcast about a playlist. I'm Jonathan Beardsley.
And I am Brandon May.
Thanks for tuning in. We don't have anything for music news this week, so we're just going to dive right into the playlist. I'm sorry, starting with this new one from Vintage Culture called "Find a Way." How are you feeling about this one? I think this is going to be the last single we get before the new album.
I actually think that this is another banger from Vintage Culture. His last single was fucking great. This one's great too. Just fantastic melodic house tune. And the lizard eye or alligator eye on the album cover is fucking sweet. I like this one. What did you think?
Oh, same, dude. I think he's really ramping up as we're getting closer to the album. I think I like the music on it a little more than the vocals, but it's a banger, like you said.
Yes, sir.
Got this new one from Disco Lines and Goodfella called Back to You. Again, another one I think I like the music on slightly more than the vocals on it, but it's very good. Tough to follow a banger like the last one Disco Lines put out with Side Piece, but this is pretty good. What do you think about it?
I'm actually glad that you shouted them out last week, and I'm glad you threw this on this week because this is great, man. I like this a lot.
Glad you dug it. I love the art style Disco Lines has been going
Right.
with for his stuff. Really cool.
Cool
Got this new
stuff.
one from Channel Tress and Barney Bones called Burgine. The thought alone of Channel Tress at Burgine just makes me smile. The fact that his time there had like such an impact on him that it inspired the lead single for his next album is even better. I think it's a really fun track. I'm excited to hear the album when it drops next month. Did you like this one?
Actually, no. I think this is the second single in a row from him that I'm not really
Interesting.
feeling.
It is a little different for
Yeah, it's
sure.
an interesting change in sound he's going for. But you know what? I'm here for it. Let's hear it.
I can't wait to fight about it when the album drops. All right. We got this new one from Nero called Draw Energy. Is this one what you thought it would be?
Yeah, massive banger. Let's go. This new Nero album is shaping up to be pretty great.
Do you think there's like a 90% chance that if you use a car in the artwork that it's like going to be a banger? Like it just has to be.
Right? Like there's got to be like some sort of unwritten rule there, right?
Yeah, love the artwork for this one. I'm not loving the gaps in the rollout, but the tracks have all been worth the wait. This is another banger. Still no release date, but I think it should be coming soon.
Yeah, hopefully.
All right, we've arrived at my song of the week. It's the new one from Charlie XCX, 360. It's the fourth single in the album rollout and fourth straight track that I think she's crushed it on. This is the first album in a while that feels like it has an actual shot at dethroning Callie for my album of the year. Did you enjoy this one?
I enjoyed everything about this song except for the album art, sir.
Charlie gonna Charlie. All right, let's talk about this new one from Biba Doobie called Take a Bite. I can't get it out of my head. I think it's more of the same, but in a good way. Her voice feels like it was made for this style of music, and she does a great job creating hooks that you can't escape. Her new album drops August 16th. That one should be really good. Are you excited
Amazing.
for it after hearing this?
Of course, dude, and I think you hit the nail on the head, man. I'm really glad that there's not like a massive departure in sound from her previous stuff. I want more of this. She's very good at this.
I agree, man. I really dug this one. Kind of a grower, but really good. All right, we got this two new tracks from Remy Wolf, Toro and Alone in Miami. Toro is about what I expected as a follow-up single to Cinderella. It's fun, groovy, boisterous. I think both tracks are a good showcase for her vocally. I don't know if I needed Alone in Miami as a single, even if it's just kind of like a B-side single, but that's just me being a little pedantic. It is a good song. What did you think of these two?
Uh, Toro has a fantastic bass line, and I love the little hits of horns on this one. Alone in
Uh-huh.
Miami is a little departed from that. Still a good track. I think I like Toro the
Yeah.
best out of both of these, though.
Yeah, same. All right, got this new one from Megan the Stallion, fucking banger called Boa. I love everything about this one. The song itself is ferocious. The music video is great. The old like PlayStation aesthetic she's been using for the artwork during the rollout has been incredible. This feels like the beginning of an album rollout to me, but I haven't seen anything official regarding that yet. She is going on tour this summer. I'm sure we're going to get more info or more new songs whenever that starts to roll, but after hearing Hiss and this, I think she is two for two in 2024. What about you?
Yeah, man, Megan is such a good rapper. I always have fun when her tracks come on. I don't like typically seek out her music, but I gotta say, man, she makes some good fucking bangers. And you could have told me that this was like a character intro, this album artwork, a character intro for like Mortal Kombat or Tekken or something.
Yep.
I would have believed you.
Yeah, I think she only put them on Instagram, but she released like physical like PlayStation 1 disc versions of this, like six
That is
different cover artworks.
incredible.
I'll find it and send it to you. It's really cool. All right. Changing gears just pretty drastically here into this new one from Post Malone and Morgan Wallen called I Had Some Help. You threw this one on here, so tell me how you're feeling about it.
John, this is so fucking cheesy, but I cannot help but love it. It's got like an incredibly poppy and catchy melody. I actually had somebody at work playing Morgan Wallen like last week. I actually didn't dislike anything that I heard. I don't know, man. I think country suits Posty. What did you think about this song?
I will agree with the country suits Posty. I will agree with it is cheesy. It's the opposite of my song of the week, man. Of course I hate everything about this. I get what you're saying. Like it's so cheesy, you can't help but love it, but you are very aware of what it is. I genuinely feel dumber for having listened to this, but it is what it is. This is about to be a massive fucking hit, and it's
Oh
going to
yeah.
be inescapable. I'm glad we're not there yet. I'm enjoying the time before we get there.
I really liked it, man. It's so on the nose. And yeah, man, let's go. Good job, Posty.
Hey man, I like some very on the nose pop adjacent music as well. This one just was not in my wheelhouse.
Fair,
Uh,
whatever.
we got this new one from the Bridge City Sinners called Doubt. You a fan?
So I actually, just to give you a little bit of background, I had
Yeah.
previewed a couple of their tracks before. Somebody mentioned them, I think on Rate Your Music or something like that, and I went through and found their last album from 2021 or 2022 called Unholy Hymns. Threw it on my listen to next playlist, listened to a couple of tracks, whatever. They released this brand new, and I was like, "Who is this? I don't remember following this band." So I clicked on it, and if I had only gotten like 20 seconds in, I probably would have been like, nah, fuck this. But I was intrigued enough to listen to the whole thing. And I love this. This is like some dark Americana acoustic with like
Yeah.
screams. Like it's so neat, man. It is so different. And I'm glad I heard it. I'm actually I hope that this is for a new album. I went back and listened to Unholy Hymns. It's a great album. It is not normally music that's up my alley, but this track most definitely was.
Dark Americana, new genre just dropped. I love that. Yeah, this is fucking sick, dude. I don't know what to call it. The like strumming guitars, the violin behind it, her attention grabbing vocals, the subsequent screams as the song builds. It's all great, and they are from Portland, Oregon, so bonus points. Yeah, I really liked this too.
Hey, there you go.
All right, man. We got two new ones from Coheed and Cambria, The Joke and Deranged. How are you feeling about these two?
Both of these are bangers, in my opinion. Kind of a blend of their older sound, like the Afterman couple albums and Vaxis 2.
Hmm.
Not quite as poppy as Vaxis 2. This cover art is absolutely unhinged. But I actually secured some tickets to go see Coheed in September, and I'm actually very excited for that because I've only ever seen half of a Coheed set, and that was at Coachella 2010 after I snuck in. So this is going to be a fun little set for me.
I have not seen them in a long time, but the few times I have always been good. I thought both of these were really good. The joke hits, I think all the notes that I like a Coheed song to hit. It's catchy vocals over some shredding guitars. Deranged has a lot of the same, just with a little more bite to the delivery on the vocals, but both of these were really, really good.
Agreed.
Um, all right, got this new one from Moose Creek Park called Sheep. What are your thoughts on it?
Just a great little emo number, man. I heard this, threw it on. I like it. What do you think?
Yeah, dude, I agree that it's good. The structure feels, I don't know, like almost improvisation, but not. It's a little different, but I think it works for their style.
So you see why I'm a fan.
I do. We got two new ones from Super American, Manager Haircut, and hopefully Pitchfork doesn't hear this. Oh man, what are your thoughts on these ones? Song titles aside.
Pop punk, ironic emo, doesn't matter. Love them both. Hadn't heard of this band before, but I'm getting major Hello Goodbye mixed with Hit the Lights vibes, and I love
What a
how
combination.
unserious this band is.
Yeah. Yeah, at first I didn't quite get the unseriousness of it, and I was like, this is my thing, but it kept growing on me. It's like heavy, it's simple indie with like this heavy dose of pop. I think Hello Goodbye is an interesting point. I didn't really think about that when listening to it, but it's like it's self-aware but not stupid. It doesn't come across as cringe, but it is fun. I really like these two for sure.
Good.
All right, man. New one from A Modest Proposal called Watering Dead Plants. It feels like it's been a while since we've heard from them on here. What'd you think of this new one?
This band is fucking wildly underrated, man. Self-release track, no label behind them. It's great. It is great.
Yeah, in the short time we've been covering them, they've always been dependable for some good angsty alternative. This is no different. It's really good.
Yes, sir.
Last single of the week is from Werewolves. We All Deserve to Be Slaves. This song is insanity. The way they move through each section is just masterful, man. The whole track rips, but that last minute goes especially hard. I really liked this one, especially to close out the singles of the week. What about you?
I'm glad you liked it, man. I actually omitted their last single because it was kind of corny and a
Is
little
there an
cringy.
album coming?
There is an album coming. The
Yeah,
album
we'll get
artwork
around to it
is
then.
what our viewers on YouTube are seeing on screen. It is unhinged. It's just they're just throwing people into a people blender. Um,
Looks like Elden Ring for sure.
yes, something like that, right? Yeah, I the album is shaping up to be interesting. I actually pre-ordered it, so we'll see how that goes. I really
Fuck
liked their
yeah.
last one, so
That beautiful artwork on your wall.
yeah, I don't think I'm gonna display this one, bud.
Just get a shirt of it to wear it around. That'll be even better. Then you don't see it.
Y-
Everybody else
You
does.
know, hold on. Let me preface this. I sometimes drunk shop. Apparently, I one day I got an email just this week that said your cattle decapitation order has arrived at
And
my
you
door, and
do not remember this?
I don't remember ordering the shirt, but it's a shirt with a cow on it, and the cow is doing things, and I just I can't wear this out in public, man.
Oh my God, dude. Well, yeah, it's a fucking cattle decapitation shirt. The odds that you could wear it in public are probably slim to none, especially in a professional setting. But
Right.
even just feeling like comfortable around children.
Right, like,
Yeah.
it's funny wearing band T-shirts out, I wear band T-shirts to work every day, which is nice, but they've gotta be at least semi fine, I don't wear the dying fetus block letters, I wear the one that nobody can read, you know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
I
You either have to have no shame or just don't give a fuck. I used to have a buddy that wore a drug free for Satan shirt to youth group every week. So,
it's
I mean,
incredible.
as long as you just don't give a fuck, really, you can wear anything, right?
I was walking through Stater Brothers, and, this guy who had on a suffocation T-shirt saw me in my
Hmm.
dying fetus T-shirt, and from across the meat department just, "Fetus." I thought it was hilarious, dude. I cracked the fuck up. I was like, "Hey, man, here's"
Metalheads are the best.
gave him a good fist bump. It was a good time.
That's fucking awesome. Shout out that guy.
Shout out that
Um,
guy.
let's talk about these EPs. We got this new one from Agriculture. I thought the Werewolves track went really well into this new Agriculture
It
EP
did,
for
huh?
some reason. Yeah, so the EP is called Living is Easy. Being Eaten by a Tiger and When You Were Born are nice additions to flesh out this release, but The Heart is the title track In the House of Angel Flesh, both of which are phenomenal. As someone who grew up in the mid 2000s metalcore scene, the screams on this immediately took me back to like Old Haste the Day, kind
Yes.
of meets Devil Wears Prada. Even though their music sounds much different, there's hints of nostalgia in there, purposeful or not, and it made getting into them as a group a lot easier for me. And now that I'm in, I'm pretty hooked, man. This is a great EP. What'd you think about it?
This is art, John.
Yes, it is.
This is most definitely art. We missed this one actually last week. It's probably because we had already covered both tracks on this one, but I or two of the four, I think. But I just wanted to shout out this band and this EP again. I actually bought the vinyl. When I ordered it, I got a confirmation email, as one does, right? And instead of
Sure.
saying "Thank you for shopping with us," it said "Thank you for suffering with us." And I just think that's really fucking neat. Shout out agriculture. This EP is art. I'm super stoked on it.
Yeah, it's fucking sick, dude. Cool. Shout out agriculture. Let's move on to this next EP. We got new one from OK Buddy called Strays. What'd you think about this one?
You know, John, you may have noticed that I haven't said my song of the week yet.
You have not. What
It's
is it?
Cut the Cord.
Interesting. I wouldn't have guessed that, honestly, even if you told me it was this EP.
Just 12 minutes of some hardcore for you this week, man. I heard one of the tracks, figured we needed to cover it, self-released. I wouldn't they this band would fit so well on pure noise or even really rad if they wanted to stretch their sound a little bit. This is so much fun, dude. Like it's just like like you almost need to hear this live. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Every town should have a band like this that plays like every 3 weeks that you can see live. The whole EP is great. Like it's everything you want from a small melodic hardcore band like this. It's really fun. Like you said, what, 12 minutes? Perfect, man. Loved it. Really angsty, anthemic, fun spirit to it all. I
Yes,
agree, dude. This
sir.
one was really good.
Neato.
All right, one more EP to talk about this week. It is the new one from Orville Peck called Stampede. So right away, I love the opening track on this one. Hearing Orville and Willie talk about how closeted and hypocritical the country music industry is over beautiful arrangements is exactly the type of thing when I was hoping for when this was announced. Um, it delivered. The hurtin' kind hits on just some of those like goosebumps inducing notes that I've come to love Orville's voice for. The cover of Saturday Night with Elton, I think, is fun, but pretty much what I expected. Solid, but feels very like karaoke-ish almost. Chemical Sunset with Allison Russell is incredible. Their voices are so different, but work so well together. Those jazzy horns in it are just great. That might be my favorite track on this project. How Far Will We Take It is a nice duet that blossoms nicely as it goes with it kind of brings the momentum of the EP down a little bit for me at least, but Man to May is it's not what I was expecting when this EP dropped, but I kind of loved it. Also, Conquer the Heart just feels like an appropriate closer for volume one. I think it's one of the many songs on the project that starts to bring in some form of brass as it goes on, and that's something that I never really get tired of. I really don't have anything else to say about this one or this in general. It's a really good release. I'm excited for volume two whenever that is. We don't really do standouts, but yeah, Chemical Sunset is the one I kept replaying. What about you?
So I heard this and I thought I had heard that first song, the Cowboys are frequently fond of each other. And so I had it. The first three songs are covers. They're
Yeah.
great though, man. Willie Nelson kills it, obviously. And as far as covers go, John, you really can't get much better than a gay cowboy collab with Elton John. Like Saturday Night's all right. You said it was all right. I actually think that in this style and context and the way it's flipped into a little bit more country with some rock, we've heard a
Bar rock.
thousand
Yeah.
covers of this song. We've heard a bunch of random people in bars sing this song for karaoke. This is the best version of this song besides the original, in my opinion. Of the original tracks, man, I
Okay.
actually really enjoy "Conquer the Heart" with Nathaniel Rateliff the best. I'm not sure. I look, man. I hope we get more of this. It's volume one, so I hope we get more of it soon. I was a
Yeah.
big fan of this one, man. I enjoyed this as I have most of Mr. Peck's music.
Is there anyone in particular you're hoping is on volume two?
I hope we get some more Willie Nelson. I would actually love to hear him do a duet with Miley Cyrus.
That would be interesting. I could see that. Beyonce, maybe? Could you see that happening?
I'd like to not.
All right, man. We got a few albums to talk about this week. Are you ready to move on?
Yeah, yeah, let's do it.
All right, man. We got this new one from Knocked Loose that has finally arrived. It's called You Won't Go Before You're Supposed to. Do you mind if I go first on this one?
Please.
All right. So I know it's popular to hate on this band because of how popular they've become, but I am of the belief that they've become that popular for a reason. And that reason is they put out albums like this. It's a nonstop ripper from start to finish. One of the heaviest things I've heard in a while, and that's saying something for what we review on this podcast. It feels so cohesive that it's almost scary. Clocks on in under just under 30 minutes, which is actually perfect for their style for me. It's fast, it's aggressive. I don't think it overextends itself. Sometimes less is more, and I think that they executed that belief to perfection on here. The way the opening track explodes almost put me back in my seat the first time I heard it. Goes perfectly into Piece by Piece, which is probably my favorite of the new tracks that we got. I could pretty much say every track goes into the other track perfectly. The sequencing on this album is ridiculous. I love the way that Don't Reach for Me crescendos into Moss Covers All, and the way that little riff from the middle of Moss Covers All comes back in a few seconds later to kick off Take Me Home. The whole album is like that, and musically, it does not let up. The percussive elements, especially on the back half of this album, are ridiculous. I think these are some of their best breakdowns yet. Features aren't really something that I usually judge a metal album on, but I think they did a good job. Poppy absolutely crushes it on Suffocate. I don't love the guest spot from Chris Motionless quite as much, but it doesn't feel out of place or drag the album down in any way either. If anything, it's just a fun, quick departure. This one is it's in the 9 to 10 range for me, easy, dude. I've listened to it so many fucking times. I don't plan on stopping soon. My standout, if I had to pick one, is Suffocate. How are you feeling about this one, man? I've been waiting all week.
Fantastic review, John.
Thank
Uh,
you.
Imagine you're the most popular band that rides that hardcore metalcore fence line pretty hard. You're about to start opening for Slipknot on an arena tour and have experienced pretty good success so far. We've actually seen this play out before, John. Not this exact scenario, but bands like what is it? Bring Me the Horizon, Parkway Drive have chosen to release albums in the same kind of time frame, but both of those bands decided to pander and go soft. Shit, even Turnstile started going a little softer in preparation for opening up for Blink. Knocked Loose, however, has decided that they weren't heavy enough, and I absolutely admire the fuck out of them for this. This album is arguably a little bit more metalcore than it is hardcore, but we have plenty of two step and almost none of the cheese that comes with the garden variety gent band of late. No, Knocked Loose has some things to say, and they're going to say them with death growls alongside Brian's Mickey Mouse vocals this time. I have nothing but praise for this album, John. It's not your usual Knocked Loose record, but it's not like it's a far jump, right? Breakdowns are brutal, spelled with two zeros, obviously. And I just have to give a major shout out to that snare sound. Whoever is in charge of that, I love you. It sounds like a handball hitting all of your enemies' faces at once, and I am about that. Fantastic record from the Knocked Loose Boys. Suffocates my standout as well. I just can't get
Yes.
enough of that reggaeton breakdown. It's a 9. It's an easy 9, bro. This is
Yeah.
so much fun.
Yeah, dude. Fucking great album. I'm glad you enjoyed it just as much as I did. They are performing out here in Portland tonight. I can't wait to hear about how that went tomorrow. They're performing in a venue that is uncomfortable on a good night, so it's going to be pretty brutal in there.
Yeah, it'll be packed.
Um, Yeah, which is honestly probably the perfect type of venue for them. The pictures they've been releasing from the headline tour they're on right now have been insane. The crowd sizes are ridiculous, man. Seems like a fun time.
They're opening for Slipknot at an arena tour, which is just gigantic for them. And I think that of all of the bands, they are poised to make the most out of this, not just for their own success, but for the hardcore scene in general, because they toe a lot of different lines and they do it, I think, very well. I think that the deathcore kids like them, the metalcore kids like them, the hardcore kids like them, and people that are into, generic new metal are going to start liking them now. They have this like grip on the heavy world right now, and they now have the opportunity to just fucking crush it. And I really hope that they do.
You know the one thing that not won't crush it, but you know the one thing that would still hate that, and that's an old head gatekeeper. And I feel like at a Slipknot tour, there's going to be some old head gatekeepers in the crowd. So you think that their sound is universally loved in enough subgenres of metal that they'll win over the crowd no matter what via just energy and performance? Because I've seen some bands, even though I like them more than the headliner, be a different type of metal than the headliner, and the crowd doesn't dig it.
It's fair. I have also seen that. I've seen that a couple of times.
Yeah, we've all been there.
I don't think that they're gonna win over the entirety of the Slipknot crowd, but I think that of all bands to of any band to do it, it's gonna be Knocked Loose, and if they
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
do it, if they can't win you over opening for Slipknot, then you are impossible to win over. I remember back in the early scene days of, 2005, 2000, 2004, 2005, going to shows at a church because one of the band members who was
yeah.
a member of this church convinced the church that these were all Christian bands, but somehow a band called Buried in the Woods was able to make it through. And
They're talking about
we had
Jesus.
and we
Jesus was
had
buried.
I don't think he was. Maybe he was. I don't know enough about Jesus to dispute that. So
Was not.
we'll put it in the show notes, people. But what I remember is hardcore bands playing with deathcore bands, playing with metalcore bands, playing with like just everybody wanted to play with each other. And I really hope that that energy comes back to the heavy scene because I think that we all deserve it. We all deserve the openness that it used to be, and I think that the gatekeepers can go away because Slipknot gets gate kept from metal in general, and so if they're going to gatekeep that, and you know what I mean, so whatever. If you're going to go see them and you're not a fan of Knocked Loose, or you don't know about them and you're going to go see Slipknot, hang around for the openers. You might get your mind blown. Hit that pit up. We'll see how tough you are.
Oh, I couldn't have said it any better myself, man. All right, are you ready to move on?
Sure.
All right, we got this new one from Ghostface Killah, Set the Tone, Guns N' Roses. Classic old head album title name. I love that. What'd you think of this one?
Man, I really wanted to like this album. As much as Wu Tang is for the children, this album may not be for most people. The front half of this album is really decent, man. It's not a little, if not like a little detached and like a little cheesy, but it's enjoyable enough, though, right? All that changes around the time you hear Fat Joe's voice. I love Fat Joe, and his verse isn't bad, but it's kind of the start of the end for my enjoyment of Ghostface's contributions to this album. The Kanye feature is actually like good. In fact, I dare to say that it was recorded a ton of years ago and was just never used until now. I think out of the 19 tracks, including the interludes, normally I'm a fan of interludes. I was not a fan of most of these. I like 9 of them. So I'm going to give this one a 4 out of 10. My standout is Scar Tissue. I think that track with Nas is the best one on the record. What do you think?
I'm not far off on you in terms of that, man. I think while the bars and voice of Ghostface is timeless, I'm not sure that the production on this album is. There's exceptions, of course, but like a lot of it is just in one ear and out the other for me. Production aside, I think that the bars on here are pretty good. That was never really in question with it being a Ghostface Killah album. He hasn't lost much pull over the years either. Like you said, we've got Kanye feature on here. We've also got Jim Jones, Method Man, Raekwon, Nas, Fat Joe, Busta Rhymes, Remy Ma. They all do their thing to some extent or another. Albums like this don't really stay in the public consciousness for long anymore, but rap fans, especially the 35 and older crowd, are definitely going to enjoy this one to some extent. I'm going to give it a 5. My standout is Pair of Hammers, which I just fucking love.
That's a good one, man.
Yeah, man. That one was really fun. Yeah, but yeah, probably not one I'll be returning to.
Yeah, unfortunately. I really wanted to like it.
I It's been a weird year for rap. We'll revisit that conversation at another point though.
We sure
All
will.
right. We got a new album from A.G. Cook I threw on here called Britpop. I don't know about you, man. So I like some of the music on this album, but I don't know how I feel about the album itself, at least like the way it's structured. And this isn't new for him. I guess it's more new for me because I've gone back through his older stuff. it has been a long gap since his last official album, so I guess he would have a lot of productions to release, but it's hard to digest all of this in a week like we do. I think without the easily accessible tracks, like the ones with the Charlie vocals, like Britpop and Lucifer, I struggled a little bit with this one, but I don't know, man. There's still some really fun chirped up beats, some fun beeps and boops. It's definitely a really unique album, but it is impossible to have a complete take on this one in the little time I've had with it. The few times I was able to give it a full active listen, I did think it was really good though, man. I threw some stuff on my playlist. I'm gonna keep coming back to those songs at least. It's fun overall, but very, very hard to digest. If I had to give it a score, it's like a five, just because I have not been able to really get a hold of all of this one yet. But that's kind of the nature of a sprawling EDM album like this. It's not all gonna land for everybody. My standout is Lucifer. What about you? How are you feeling about this one?
Kind of the same. This is a very layered album. There is a ton happening all around this record, and from tempo changes to weird bass lines to synth lines that make almost no sense but still somehow work. I think I enjoy this album like a lot as a concept, right? I'm not sure that I actually
Sure.
enjoyed the album or really many of the tracks, if I'm being honest. I think his production style is pretty unique and he's really fucking good at writing music and melodies especially, but I just don't think it's for me. You know me. I like it when people just noodle around with synthesizers, but it's kind of like a bit all over the place and it tends to meander, which is fine. I'm a big fan of prog metal, right? Meander all day, but bring it back. It never finds its course again. I think his production for Charlie is great. I think the Charlie vocals on this one are great also, and I think it fits extremely well with her style of music. I know that that's not like how A.G. Cook got started, but at least for me where his production style kind of shines. If the meandering and the synth noodling ended up somewhere, I think I would have liked this album like a lot more. But there just seems to be like themes that end up starting and like fizzling at will, which is not really my jam, man. It's hard to connect with this one. I'm gonna give it a five. I actually really like Soulbreaker, but I think the best representation of what I'm talking about is tracks like I think it's the Weave, where
Mhm.
like towards the end of the track it like builds up into this like super heavy thing, and then he starts with this bass line, and then the bass line just fizzles, and then it ends on a bright note, and it's like what are you doing? Like what is
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. I I've kind of in the way that you've been able to like dissect my taste in metal. I think that hyperpop inflicted EDM is something that you just don't really like a whole lot outside of certain ways either, you know?
I'm
Like I think
struggling
like
with it, man. I
the
actually wanted to like this.
this is definitely in that kind of like Hudson Mohawk Flume adjacent, like hyperpop EDM realm, and it is a little different. I feel like these songs are easier to digest on their own than this album is, but I feel the exact same way about it as you do.
Nice. Yeah. Did I give you my score yet or no?
You said five,
Yeah, it's a
and I
five.
think you said your
Soulbreaker.
standout was Soulbreaker.
Yep. Yep, that's the
All
one.
right, man. Let's talk about this new Conway the Machine album, Slant Face Killa. I don't know if I'm ever going to enjoy a Conway project more than I did with God Don't Make Mistakes, but pretty much everything the guy puts out is fire. This one is no different. We heard Give and Give as a single, but hearing it on this album hit even harder for me. I love Conway over chopped up piano like that. We get an incredible posse cut in the form of Meth Back, which features probably one of my favorite bars on the album, National Geographic, Compassionate with the Ratchet. That is just poetry. He could have made a few posse cuts with the group of guys he has on this album. Stove God, who I think might deliver the best verse on Muddy. Larry June, Method Man, Joey Badass, Key Glock, Tech Nine, Absol, Raekwon. This is one of, if not the most stacked album Conway has put out in terms of features, but the moments is rapping are easily my favorites. His verse on Ninja Man puts a smile on my face every time it comes on. When he snaps into it, which he almost always does, there's few things like it. This is also one of the albums over an hour where I'm not going to complain about the runtime. I feel like more often than not, he uses that extra runtime to put in more content worth listening to. I guess that's debatable, but whether that be music or bars, I appreciate it. I also appreciate his ear for curation as much as his bars. I think both are at the top of their game here. This one's like a strong seven, maybe even a light eight for me. I might be underselling it a little bit, but yeah, my standout is Dasani. That's easily the most Conway track on here for me, and I could not stop listening to it. What'd you think about this one, man?
You and I are on the same page tonight, John. This is man, Conway is most definitely a fucking machine. This dude and
Hmm.
Griselda really just release albums on such an inconsistently consistent timeline. It's kind of wild, man. Is he just always in the studio? This
I think
album
so. Yeah.
is classic Griselda. It's dirty beats, off pentameter bars with features that all hold their weight. I noticed that there's no West Side Gun or Benny features, and I'm sure that's because they kind of want to separate themselves from just being collab rappers, which good for them. Because
Yeah.
I as much as I love both of them, I didn't miss them, and it doesn't detract from how great this album is. Grimy lyrics over East Coast beats and chopped up pianos. What else could you even want from Griselda or even Conway himself? This thing's a banger, man. But you can throw a dart at his discography, and you're likely to hit a banger of an album that's slightly even too long, but doesn't really matter. Like you
Yep.
said, man. This whole thing. I love the Larry June feature. Like you said, Stove God probably has the best verse on the album if you take away all
Yep.
of Kanye Conway's verses. And I mean, shit, man. At the Ab Soul, like
Hmm.
it's
Yeah.
crazy, man. I actually, and I'm not even like a big fan of Key Glock, but I really I really liked that 6 minute, and they call it an interlude. It's not, but I liked it, man. It's a seven for sure. But you're right, Dasani, where it's just him, is the best track on this album.
So ridiculous. That song is so good though.
Yes, sir.
All right. One more album to talk about this week. It's from Dehd called Poetry. How are you feeling about this one?
So, I hadn't ever heard of the. Well, I've heard of Dead, but I had never heard this band. And then somebody posted on Reddit that the new album had dropped, and I remember hearing about them and being like, let me check it out. I got from my little sampling of it some group love vibes, and so I'm kind of glad I threw it on. Most of the group love vibes are for the dual female and male vocals, but my favorite thing about this album is how they really let themselves kind of go into a riff, and they don't close the riff. They kind of let it do its thing. They let the
Mhm.
riffs breathe. And some of them are actually even like dare I say heavy, like on, I think it's Mood Ring, where it opens up with like a, it sounds like it's a drop C almost, like it sounds heavy for this style of music. That I'm a sucker for this kind of like surf rock inspired indie rock with extra riffs, and that's kind of exactly what this
Yep.
is. I liked this album a lot. I actually listened to it after I had gotten high one day, and it actually hit way differently, and I like really liked it. So I don't know if that matters, but what I do know is that I really enjoyed this album. I think I'm going to come back to it. I don't think I had maybe enough time to process the entire thing, so maybe I'll come back to it later throughout the week, or throughout the year. But right now, sitting at a seven for me. I think my standout is, it's either going to be Necklace or Mood Ring. Either one of those songs are pretty good on this one. What'd you think about this one?
So when this album first started, I thought it wasn't really going to be for me. And I think maybe to some degree it's not, but the more I sat with it, I think the more I understood the appeal of it. They're very good songwriters, even when some of the musical choices that they make aren't my favorite. I like that they don't limit themselves to one sound or subgenre, but as a result of that, I like some songs more than others. That's true for most albums, I guess, but you get what I mean. Even though it wasn't my favorite, the album is pleasant enough, and I think at 41 minutes, made for a really easy listen. I don't really know score wise where I'm at. I'd say probably close to a six for this one. My standout is actually Dist B. I really love the vocals on that one and just kind of the way it goes on. But yeah, man, this one was a fun ad. I think it was a good way to cap this type of week off with some random rap and EDM and all of that.
Yeah, I think so too. I think this one actually had a little bit more monthly listeners than one of these artists, and I decided to keep it on the back end as a kind of a little palate cleanser.
For sure. It was good. I like the artwork on it too.
Yeah, yeah, me too.
All right, man. That does it for us this week. Pretty quick episode. It's EDC weekend. Are you going to try and catch any of the sets from that?
Yeah, I'll definitely be catching some of the sets. My one of my coworkers is going. I walked in the other day and he was like, "Brandon, there's only 4 days until I'm under the electric sky." And I was like, "Bro, have you ever been to EDC?" He was like, "No, man, this is my first time." I was like, "You're gonna have
Oh man.
a time." And then
Yeah,
I walked
yeah.
away. Yeah, I'll
Yeah,
catch
put on
some
your
of the
step
sets.
counter.
Right. Yeah, I was like, it's a that's a because he went to Coachella this year. I was like, it's a completely different beast. He was like, "Oh, for real? I'm camping." And I was like, "Oh, you're camping? That's awesome. You're gonna have a time."
Yeah. Yeah, you're gonna have a time. Can't wait to hear about that.
Yep.
Right, man. Join us again next week. We are going to be talking about new albums from Billie Eilish, 21 Pilots, Cage the Elephant, Your Ghost in Glass, and more. You can find us on Instagram and Reddit. Just search Brandon's Face Pod. You can also follow along with the playlist that the podcast is based on. The link to that is in the show notes. We update it every Friday or so. Spotify's been a little weird lately, so it might be a little later until we get all of that figured out. But just follow the link. That's where you'll find everything you need. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Peace.